Welcome back to the Pursuit of Progress podcast, where we talk real estate, entrepreneurship, and the mindset behind chasing your highest potential. Today's episode is inspired by a concept from Alex Hormozi, both Ben and my favorite entrepreneur right now. And if you truly let this sink in, it's going to change how you look at your time, your goals, and the way that you live your life. Because here is the truth: normal inputs, they equal normal outputs. But abnormal inputs, they equal abnormal outputs. Another word for this would be extraordinary. A little bit difference between the extraordinary and normal ordinary is that little bit extra. So if you're trying to build a life that most people don't have, you need to do what most people don't. And I'm excited to share this one with you guys with my co-host Ben. As always, Ben, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great. So excited to be here and talk about this. What you said in the intro there, normal inputs equal normal outputs. Abnormal inputs equal abnormal outputs. I think that's it right there. We got to start. I think a lot of people, they want to do normal things. They want to have normal inputs, but then get abnormal outputs.
Yep. What I love about this one today that we prepared for you guys is some of these numbers that Ben's going to share with you. And I'm going to share a few things with you as well. But it is just crazy when you put this into perspective and just give you a more of a visual, kind of dream a little bit just to think about how rare being abnormal really is in today's society, and how if you want to achieve greatness and have an abnormal life, you got to, again, live an abnormal daily routine and do things that other people aren't to get there.
Yeah, let's just start off by talking about abnormal income. What do these numbers really look like? So, did you know that only 1 in 1,000 Americans make over $1 million a year? 1 in 1,000. Now, if we're talking about 10 million a year, only 1 in 11,000 make 10 million a year. If we're talking about 20 million a year, 1 in 35,000. You think of going to a college football stadium that's medium size. There's one person there that's making over 20 million. So that's how infrequent and abnormal it is. And I guarantee you that that person's daily habits, their skills, their behaviors are very different than someone that's making $1 million, even though that's still tremendous. One thing that I've always said when I'm trying to grow my income or grow my career, I'll say that right now, I have the skills, the behaviors, and the inputs and outputs of someone that is earning what I'm earning and is at my level. And so if I want to get to this next level, it means that I have to grow my skills, grow my connections, change my habits, change what my day-to-day looks like. I'm not going to be able to do the same thing that I'm doing right now and get to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, I think, the other aspect of this that's really important to think about is if you want those types of results, you are by definition trying to be a statistical outlier. And an outlier, if you think back to, high school, it's that far number on the far left or far right that's just an outlier compared with all the other, the average, median, all the main numbers in the middle. So to be that person way out far in front of everybody else, you got to really think differently, and you really
Yeah.
got to do what everybody else is not willing to do.
Stop trying to be average.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think everybody wants to fit in, but they don't want to be average.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay not to fit in.
Yeah, I think that's something you get as you get older too. You
Yeah.
get more comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And kind of what Ben had just spoken a second ago about, I want to kind of a little bit more in depth share a way for you guys just to visualize this even further. So to make $1 million a year, that again, that's the 1 in 1,000 Americans. That's basically equivalent to having to outwork every single person maybe in your high school.
Mm-hmm.
To make that $10 million a year, you need to be better than everyone from every single high school in your entire city. So every high school in Jefferson County, you got to be better than every single one of those other students to be in that outlier class,
Yeah.
that 1 in 10,000 or 1 in 11,000, I should say. And then for that 20 million, as Ben had used as an example, imagine a football stadium with 35,000 people, or rather than football, maybe we'll think more about, like, I think the Coors Field is, I think, just over 40,000, I think, at Coors Field.
Yeah.
So imagine that entire stadium completely packed. You have to be the one person who outlasts every single other person there. That level of result, that requires a different standard, not more talent. It requires more commitment.
Yeah, it's so true. And once you learn what it takes, the behaviors, the attitudes, the disciplines, I know a couple of individuals that are earning at those income levels, and what they do and their behaviors are vastly different than the norms for their industry, vastly different.
Hmm.
And that's why, because they are doing they're having abnormal inputs, and so they're getting abnormal outputs. And a lot of times they've also been doing it. We're always talking about consistency. They've been consistently disciplined. They've had a consistent high standard of performance for years and years and years, and in some cases decades, probably most
Yep.
cases.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, so let's talk next about just how people get stuck. If they want extra, you already talked about this, man.
No, no. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you maybe did. Yeah, just talking through a little bit more about those extraordinary results. Share a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so if people want extraordinary results, but they're still living a relatable, normal lifestyle, you're not gonna get them. You can't
Hmm.
say things like, "I wanna be in the top 1%," and then also say, "I don't wanna miss happy hour." You can't say, "I wanna be in the top 1% and I need the balance right now. I wanna have a work-life balance." That's not how it works.
Yeah, that's something that I learned and I'm very thankful of through my father. Just seeing him, for pretty much my entire childhood, had a
Mhm.
very stressful, very high demand job that demanded a lot out of him.
Mm.
Monday through Friday, he would leave the house at 6:30 in the morning, get back 5:36 at night. And then every single weekend for years and years and years, he'd be up at our cabin working and doing things himself just to build equity in our different cabins that he had built. And just seeing that level of imbalance.
Yeah.
And while probably a lot of his coworkers, maybe other family members, friends, just seeing a lot of other people not doing that, but having that long term vision and just being diligent, consistent, being abnormal. It's something that at the time you don't really think much of, but then fast forward 10 or 20 years, and when he's in a position that others aren't,
Yeah.
a lot of people look at that and say, "Oh, he just got lucky," or maybe that's an overnight success,
Must
or
be nice.
all these other excuses. Yeah, must be nice, but don't even take into consideration just the day in and day out for year after year after year of just hard work and motivated levels of just putting in the effort that nobody else would be willing to do. Very few people would be willing to do.
Yeah, I think we all have to live our story and create the vision, draft the plan that we want, and then go pursue it. My brother and I talk about this a lot, and I have just learned to value delayed gratification so much, and just constantly saying no to myself, always investing, always thinking 10 years ahead. It's been so helpful to do that, and I can already see I'm not going to be one of those people that struggles in retirement or is concerned about if Social Security is going to get canceled or not because of how I'm living my life right now. Learning to say
Hmm.
no to things so you can say yes to tomorrow is so much more fulfilling. Because here's the deal, Adam. No one's going to care about, you're not going to care about what watch you were wearing 20 years from now. The 60-year-old version of Adam isn't going to care about what kind of car he drove when he was 40 or what kinda he's not even gonna remember that nice hamburger. It's almost as if that stuff doesn't matter, but the 40-year-old Adam should care about the 60-year-old Adam.
Yeah, it's a very unique way to think about that. I like that.
The best person to take care of the old you is the young you.
And that not only applies to finances, but also just health.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's another big reason that I'm so passionate, probably even more about health, man. Um, I've shared this story with you, but I had a really good friend of mine who passed away unexpectedly here in the last month. I spoke to him the day before he died, and just very, very tragic. There was some type of health concern. We don't know exactly what, but it just definitely puts things in a different perspective.
Yeah.
And you can't take, if you don't have health, you don't have anything. Nothing else matters at that point.
Hmm. Yep. Very well said. So the other aspect of this that I want to share with you guys is coming from Alex Hormozi, who's an incredibly hard worker, somebody that I think a lot of us look up to when it comes to some of these just principles that we talk about really on a weekly basis on this show. And it's just about the fact that, it's not a glorification of burnout that we're trying to talk about here. It's about
Yeah.
owning the gap between the life you want and what it costs to get there. And the moment that you start apologizing for, working weekends, saying no to distractions, maybe opting out of normal life, like that happy hour that Ben mentioned, that's when you start negotiating with mediocrity, is when you start bending and you start
Hmm.
accepting some of those kind of short term enjoyments for, instead of doing that, staying focused and owning the gap between that life you want and what it costs, and just being able to stick to that, and not only stick to that today and tomorrow, but for a much longer extended period of time.
Yeah. When I first got into the mortgage industry, I remember going in on Saturdays. My boss gave me lists of like 200 people to call, and I would just make cold calls all Saturday afternoon. And guess what? I was the only one in the office doing that. And there was a season that I did that. That's not how I want to continue my career where I'm just, making cold calls every Saturday, but I was willing to do that for a season. And by doing that, it made my foundation much stronger to where now I have a much larger past client database of people that I have relationships with. And a lot of
Hmm.
that is from those early years.
That's really cool and
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah. Well, let's, you know, s- something else I want to talk about is just you don't always have to be relatable. And if you want to have those extraordinary results, you're supposed to be the one person willing to do what the other 999 won't. It's so easy, I think, when we feel like we're the outlier in some cases, or maybe you feel like your dreams are too big. You have your goals are too big. Well, I'm going to bring my goals down a little bit so I kind of conform to the crowd. No, no. I talk to my kids a lot about this. I say your dreams should be so big they scare you. Your dreams should frighten you. They should be that big. Because if they don't, you're just not dreaming big enough. And it's funny how when you make those initial dreams and they do scare you, once you get to work, you start showing up every day. All of a sudden they get smaller and they get smaller and they get smaller. And then all of a sudden you've hit that goal or hit that dream. I have a couple
Love that.
different things that I can think of my life where when I wrote down a goal, I just thought it was so impossible. And then it came to pass.
Yeah, I love that, man.
Don't
Well,
be afraid
guys,
to be the outlier, I guess would be my message. Embrace being the outlier, not for your ego, but because your mission is too big to live small. How's that?
I like that. Very, very cool. Well, I think from on my end, here's your guys' reminder to kind of close this one out. If you want abnormal results, you have to embrace abnormal inputs. Don't water down your ambition just to be understood or to fit into the crowd, as Ben just pointed out. The top 0.1%, they don't play by the same rules, and that's exactly why they win. This is something that the quicker you can understand this, you're going to be light years ahead of 99% of people out there. So I think this is something that we're all still trying to get better at. And it's something that sounds kind of like this fluffy, just rah, rah, rah type, point to make here, but it really is true. And I would just maybe implore you guys to, whatever the industry you're in, whatever you're trying to get better at, whoever you really want to look up to and admire and emulate and try and be more like, whether that's an athlete, a business person, whoever it may be, just start to just really track what they're doing and just start to understand that they're probably not doing what everybody else is. And that's why they're in the position they're in. It's
Yeah.
not because they got lucky. It's because they're doing abnormal, inputs, and they're getting abnormal results because of it.
I think that's it right there. If you're gonna have one takeaway from this podcast, that's it right there. You don't need to come up with these brilliant ideas and develop these crazy skills. Learn how to clone someone that has already developed them. So if somebody has something you want, or if you want to live your life a certain way and you see someone doing that, clone their behavior.
Love that, man. It's not that hard, but it's it's not hard, but it's difficult to just
Yeah.
understand and stick with it. And the fact that you're not going to see results tomorrow or the day after, and it's not going to maybe even be results for 6 months or a year from now,
Yeah.
to have that stubbornness to keep going and just to know that eventually that's going to pay off and you're going to be in the place you need to be with those abnormal tasks and just actions that you're doing on a daily basis.
It's funny because we put these roadblocks in our mind that don't even exist. This person doesn't want to
Hmm.
talk to me. Why would they want to talk to me? Why would they want to like share or pour into my life? Why would they want to answer
Hmm.
my question? A lot of times, really successful people, the most successful people I know, love to share.
Definitely. Well, you guys, with that, drop a comment or maybe shoot us a message. I'd love just to hear a little bit more about what you're doing this week that's abnormal. And remember, if it feels a little uncomfortable, you're probably on the right track.
Mhm.
So until next week, keep pushing, keep building, and we're going to catch you guys on the brand new episode next week of the Pursuit of Progress podcast. I'm Adam, signing off for Ben. We'll see you guys next time.
Love you guys. See you next week.